I have titled us as the Treasure Valley Knights of Columbus Color Corps, because not one assembly has enough color corps members to meet all the requirements or to do the job and like it should be done, whether it's celebrations, funerals, or otherwise. So the Treasure Valley Knights of Columbus Color Corps concept lives. This past Saturday's annual Men's Casket Conference, it really illustrated the value of this union where we're joined at the hip. We had 15 Color Corps Knights from 5 assemblies rallied together. We had our district master sitting with us tonight as one of them. And Bishop Peter, it's just a wonderful bishop, a wonderful guy. He just would look at me and give me that look. He like nod his head and smile, meaning good job, thank you. And so whenever the bishop has a mass, Color Corps strives to be there. Okay. Color Corps is aging, and so for my third council report, I'm going to bring this point up, and that the Color Corps is aging out, and we need new blood to help carry the load, and even pass the baton too. I am hopeful that for our exemplification, that we're able to muster at least 12 candidates for the 4th degree, to include even volunteering, paying for registration if that need be at my own expense. So with that, that's my Color Corps Commander's report. Report of committees, admission, readings of application, Brother Ray.
I don't have any concrete names currently. I think there is 4 that are on the list right now. But to ensure that all the new members that have come into the council in the last couple of years, I believe since we're 90 days out right now, putting out an email to all of those to see if we can stimulate interest in them being potential candidates.
And Brother Ray helped coordinate nights 101 class that we had. Now that you're a knight, what? And we answered that question thanks to our Ken Reef on the culture. What is the culture of Knights of Columbus? What is our culture here at Holy Spirit Council? So those that were present looked like they were motivated to go to the next level to be 4th degree. Next, membership. Brother Ray already mentioned that, talked about that. Welfare Committee, Joe James, here. Oh, there you are. Good.
Yes, I got a hold of, I talked to Tony Fugilati, and he's going through dialysis, but as you all know, his wife passed away, and I talked to him since then and expressed our sympathies and sent him a sympathy card. And I tried to get a hold of John Walsh Cohen, twice, and I left a voicemail. I don't know if I got the right number or not. And prayers for Victor Rousseau here, and Victor's friend Fernando, whose daughter is very sick. Just as a new member to our parish, but we saw him at the pancake breakfast and he asked for prayers. Right. And that's my report.
Thank you very much. Okay, VA hospital home.
Really faithful navigator. Last December, obviously, I think a lot of you people know that we had changed the bingo time from Thursday afternoon to Saturday from 10 to 12, hoping that we would get not only more participation with the 4th degree going down there and helping, but also a better turnout with the patients. And that seems to have worked. In January, we had to move the date again. We were going for the third Saturday of the month. We had to move it to the fourth Saturday a month because there was the March for Life. And also, the Divine Mercy Chaplet being held the third Saturday from 9:30 for Rosary and 10 o'clock for the Divine Mercy. So we moved it to the fourth Saturday of the month. And we had a great showing in December. January, obviously, it's a busy month. We didn't, we had, I think, 4 people, 2 from Risen Christ and John Barron and myself. There were 4 patients, and these four guys were, they're all hospice patients. So they all have oxygen and they're slow moving and they can't see well. So we always need help. So if you're so inclined, get in touch with me and we can ride share going down there. The next bingo will be February 25th. So really faithful navigator, I'll ask you to send out an email with my information, so anybody contact me.
Consider it done. It is so much fun playing bingo with these veterans. Yes.
Great plan here. So do we, is it gonna remain at the 4th Saturday?
Yes.
Okay, can you somebody let Amanda know that? Because I was just at their council meeting, and they want to get more involved.
They want to get more involved, but they didn't know what the date was. Some of them still thought it was the 3rd Thursday, some thought it was the 3rd Saturday, now it's the 4th Saturday. So if somebody can let them know, or I can let them know when the next meeting is, that'd be great.
I talked to Jim Coffey.
Okay.
Just recently, and we talked about that very thing. So it's all straightened out.
Thank you, Brother Clark. Report of trustees, there's no report for this month. Unfinished business, and then leave this off. Fourth degree exemplification, 6 May. We need, just very quickly, we need to set up an ad hoc committee. And I'll send an email out tomorrow morning. And pretty much we've done this 3 times, if not more. The hardest part always, I'm not looking at you, Tom, it's the meal, is to get a reasonably affordable meal. But everything else really pretty much got set. But we need key people for setting up the gym, setting up the dining area, facilitating the kitchen. So with that, look for my email, and I appreciate help that's there. Brother Knight, Kevin Barnett, he's with the Loving Dog Music, and he's going to help us out with the cocktail hour and maybe some music during dinner. So we always try to have it as a class act. And CCW, several of the members agreed to help us. And I would be remiss if I didn't introduce Ethan Sevier. So Ethan is from St. Ignatius, 8th grade, and he chose to write his topic on Knights of Columbus. So we've been exchanging information. He's here to see how Knights of Columbus works. And when I talked about grow the service, grow Knights of Columbus, this is what we really got to get to, where we start with young men as Ethan, educating them about the Knights of Columbus and what we do for the church, and why we rightfully can say we're the strong right arm of the church. And he's learning all about that today. Thank you. I promised him I wouldn't ask him to say anything. How do we define how assembly members define 4th degree patriotism mission? So I think I'll just let you just take that, see if there's any more details that need to come back from that.
Okay, I was told last time I didn't speak loud enough. I attribute that to the fact that I got hearing aids about a year ago, and I hear myself real well. Anyway, we had a good discussion at the last meeting. Some good suggestions about how we can promote patriotism. I thought one of the really good ones was make sure that we have someone from the assembly attending the exemplification for the first, second, third degree, so that we can inform and educate those young men and new members on the importance of the fourth degree. So I did want to just we talked about maybe some more education topics that we could have either as a part of our discussion at our assembly meetings, or maybe we would schedule something outside of our regular meetings to educate members and family members on patriotism. I just was thinking today about some things related to patriotism as far as past presidents. And Ronald Reagan, I happened to hear on the radio, was born on this date. In year he was born on this date. And Ronald Reagan was one of our great presidents, and he was a real patriot. He supported our armed services and really increased the budget for our armed services. And this being also February, being Black History Month, I was reminded about Abraham Lincoln and what a commitment that president made to stand up and support the value of human life, and ended up costing his life, but he put in place freedom for all Americans. So anyway, with that, I just wanted to see if anyone had any other thoughts to follow up on our discussion from last time. I was a little surprised myself that comment was made that only 1% of Americans serve in the military. Who really provided that statistic, but I'm part of the 99%, and I joined the fourth degree because I wanted to be able to show my patriotism and give back to the VA bingo and other programs to support patriotism. I guess out of curiosity, would all the veterans here tonight stand up? We're all very much appreciated. So I guess to take just not too long here, any other comments or thoughts about how we might promote patriotism within our fourth degree? Yes.
Ronald Reagan was born on February 6th, 1911. And that was, just keep doing the good works that your assembly's doing, and fill out your civics award. There's 4 items needed for that. I'm sure from what I've heard, got at least half of them already in just this month. So please fill out that form so I can get that awarded.
Okay. Thank you.
Grateful.
Yes,
I was going to save this for later, but one thing we could do is we take over the patriotic essay fund. That's something our assembly does
good to cross-pollinate ideas across the state, so, they offer a trophy. They used to give out prize money, when the kids spend it, they don't remember. But if they have a trophy, they have it for the rest of their life. Okay, first, second, third place, give money with it, so, you know, and, we award it at the school assembly. School allows it. So you've got an easy in here, there's got Catholic high school, for God's sake. So, that's some way you can promote patriotism in a very big, visible way.
Thank you for that. And actually, our faithful navigator has started that idea and we will pursue that. Yes.
We're the faithful navigator, gentlemen. I serve 5 jurisdictions, Idaho being one of them. So some of the ideas that I've heard from other jurisdictions is on Flag Day, the assembly purchase flags, large and small, sell them at churches with the guides on the proper usage, proper way to display, and those things. Be surprised how many people don't have flags. So if you can come up with a deal with one of the local retailers that you can have a bulk of flags that you can sell, whether it be the kind you stick on the side of the house or just a tabletop flag. Somebody could do that. A lot of times we're starting to see flag retirement programs disappearing. That'd be resurgent from the assembly. You can partner with other civic agencies, or you can just do it yourself, have a large event where people bring their flags, encourage them to come and join you with the retirement ceremony, do a barbecue afterwards and discuss, you know, why we treat the flag in the manner that we do and you know, reverence for the flag. Of course, the patriotic essay, what makes a good Catholic citizen, contributions that the Catholics have made to the country, why it's important that we hold our country up. And of course, the VA hospital, not just the VA hospital, but look at veteran homes in your area that are satellite facilities. And especially in your rural areas where people seem to forget those satellites. So reach out and find the satellite areas, and then either have the local council support it, the local assembly support it, or you support those satellites. Think of the VA hospital, but sometimes we really think about those satellites. So a few ideas for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
We need to have the mic, Sean. Sean Burrell, wants to talk about Gowan Field Chapel.
Yeah, we've had a great month out of Gowan Field. I've had Corbin with me, I've had Wade with me. We've got a lot of guys out there that are going to mass every other Thursday at Gowan Field. And a couple of months ago, we approached Father Osorio, who's the Air Force chaplain out there, the Catholic chaplain. And, you know, it's kind of a plain ecumenical type chapel. And we approached him about the idea of beautifying the chapel, making it not just look a little more Catholic. Well, yeah, we want it to look more Catholic, but to make it look more inviting to the soldiers and airmen. And he was on board with it. We got it approved by the colonel out there, who's a Protestant chaplain, but he's on board with getting some sacred art out there. So we started asking the local parishes if they had anything to donate. Holy Apostles donated a monstrance, some gold candle holders. We actually reached out to Cindy Deft. I'm sure some of you know Cindy. She does a lot of sacred art painting at some of the local parishes. If you're not familiar with Cindy's artwork, look at some of the local parishes. And if you see sacred art, chances are she's the one who painted it. She not only got back to us, but she's now going to mass with us out at Gowan Field. And this last Thursday, she brought her computer along with her, and we had a meeting after mass, and she brought up on her computer color schemes, how we could paint the chapel. She's going to do a painting of St. John of the Cross crucifix, and I'm not sure if you're all familiar with that, but it's it's a crucifix, and then underneath it is a body of water with a boat. But instead of painting it like that, she's gonna do a crucifix, and then underneath the crucifix, it's gonna be a depiction of Gowan Field with some planes and some tanks and stuff like that. So we're gonna have that crucifix. We're gonna have a painting of the Holy Family, and then we're gonna have another painting of Saint Michael. So, and then it just so happens, for those of you who don't know, I've been working for the VA for the past 17 years. I'm leaving the VA. I'm going to another federal agency, to the Bureau of Land Management. But when I was working at the VA regional office last week, it was the last week I was working at the VA regional office. And the last veteran I met with came into my office, and we got to talking, and come to find out, she works at Sacred Heart. So I asked her, well, do you know if you guys have any surplus liturgical items that you could donate? She said, oh yeah, we've got a lot of things. I can get you whatever you need. Just come by sometime and we'll get you some liturgical items. So she's gonna get some items for us. And then her husband actually works out at Gowan Field, and he oversees all the maintenance. So he also came to the last meeting we had after Mass last week, and he's gonna get the chapel painted for us. He's gonna do some cabinets to go around the Sacred Heart, because since it's a Protestant and Catholic chapel, we have to cover up the Sacred Heart. But so God's hand really is at work. I mean, it started out several months ago where I was at an event at Gowan Field, and I just happened to run into someone who looked familiar. And she used to be a parishioner here, and now she's out at Risen Christ, but we got to talking, and she told me that they have Mass every other Thursday at Gowan Field. So I started going to Mass, invited Corbin, invited Wade, invited some other people, and we've kind of got a good following there. But in addition to going to Mass, now we're kind of making the chapel look a little more Catholic. And we've got about 600 soldiers who are deployed to Kuwait right now. And they're going to be coming back in August. And when they come back, they're going to be going through all kinds of issues that are typical to any deployment, issues with marriages, financial issues, issues with work relationships. And we're really hoping the chapel at Gowan Field is going to be kind of a safe haven for their spiritual needs. So I just wanted to share all that. At this point, I don't think there's anything that we're going to ask of the assembly or the council. Maybe at some point when the project is done, if we do an open house, maybe it's something the Knights could get involved with, whether it's getting the color corps out there, something to show our appreciation for the soldiers and airmen, and something to help spread the word of God.
All right, thank you. Last item I have under new business, I have the poster or handout right up there. And I emailed it out, save the date, 16 June. That happens to be my birthday, just, you know, but 16 June, having all nights activity out at Park Stadium. It's $25 a head, but from 5:30 to 6:30, all you can eat, beer and wine, half price during that hour. And they have a special reception area for us. And when the game starts, you can stay in the nice covered area. So trying to make it a nice family night. You bring your wife, kids. Per adult is $25. For children is $10. And I've already put a deposit down that the 16th is reserved for our council and assembly. With that said, one of those, but I hear you. I hear you. So we're going to sponsor our deacons and their wives at no cost to come as our guests, to include our two priests. So I'm getting very close to 25, but it'll really be, and it has been in the past, even under Chuck's Museum. It's just a fun night where we all can get out and enjoy. So just remember, from 5:30 to 6:30, it's all you can eat and really good grub, okay? And the beer and wine is half price. So with that, I want to ask our, get the report of the third degree. Good night.
All right, report of the third degree. I'd like to say we have two special guests tonight, our regional growth director, Ray Lopez, and our state Idaho deputy, George Messina will be talking. Also, we have a few things on the agenda to talk about. Number one, we'll talk about the state raffle. We still got more tickets to sell. Valentine's flower distribution, free Lenten carnival, and fish fry, Lenten book distribution, election of delegates, and we also have a vote tonight for FBO for the March summer roll event.
All right, thank you, thank you. All right, and we have the opportunity to show a film, but I wanted to give our district master opportunity to add words of wisdom you'd like to share with us.
I'd like to
God
thank,
bless you.
I'd like to thank your faithful navigator, Joe, for the wonderful job he did in marshaling the color corps for the men's conference, and that we have 15 members in color corps, as he noted, and they brought out the flag for the opening before the mass, and they did a wonderful job. And I think about half the color corps came from your assembly, and I think your color corps represents about half the color corps of the state. So congratulations on getting members into the new uniform and going out there to be the visible arm of the Knights of Columbus. And that you know, you're definitely doing a lot of programming. And that I'd like to note that there is a star assembly, and I think you're probably doing all the things except for the reporting for that. And the things for that are the Civic Award, which consists of turning in 4 patriotic programs that your assembly has performed over the course of the year. Presenting the flags at the men's conference. 1, your help with the bingo. 2, you're helping with this. That's 3. And I'm pretty sure you have to do stuff over, you know, you can do something with the school. I know our assembly noted that our school's flag was getting a little bit worn and tattered. That probably happens at least every other year, if not every year. But our assembly bought a flag for the school, and we presented it in conjunction with the scout troop that our church supports. We had a flag retirement of the old flag and presented them with a new flag with our color corps present. And, that was a really well received program, and I suspect we can do that same here. Yes. And that he has mentioned a couple of times now the May 6th exemplification. I thank you for hosting the one last year, and I'm glad that you're coming up and doing it again, because I know when it's done here, we'll have enough color guards for the rows, you know, row guards, as well as a very well drilled team doing the flags, and we can do all the flags, not just the American and papal flag, because we'll have enough members to carry them all. So so I'd like to thank your assembly for that. You are the largest assembly in the state of Idaho, and you're growing quickly, and you know, getting the word out to your third degree members, inviting them to this degree is how we grow, and that's how we can do more great things in the state with patriotism and that. So thank you again for inviting me, and just keep up the good work, get those third degrees on up to the fourth degree, and get their input and get some younger guys with uniforms that we can all have it continue on for many years. So thank you for all the good work that you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. Grand night. Can I borrow 5 minutes and I'll give it back to you down the road somewhere?
Okay.
Okay. Right.
I'll pay it.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, thank you, President Powers, Provost Fenves, deans, members of the faculty, family and friends, and most importantly, the class of 2014. It is indeed an honor for me to be here tonight. It's been almost 37 years to the day that I graduated from UT. I remember a lot of things about that day. I remember I had a throbbing headache from a party the night before. I remember I had a serious girlfriend who I later married. That's important to remember, by the way. And I remember I was getting commissioned in the Navy that day. But of all the things I remember, I don't have a clue who the commencement speaker was, and I certainly don't remember anything they said. So acknowledging that fact, if I can't make this commencement speech memorable, I will at least try to make it short. So the university slogan is, what starts here changes the world. Well, I've got to admit, I kind of like it. What starts here changes the world. Tonight, there are almost 8,000 students, so there are more than 8,000 students graduated from UT. So that great paragon of analytical rigor, Ask.com, says that the average American will meet 10,000 people in their lifetime. 10,000 people, that's a lot of folks. But if every one of you changed the lives of just 10 people, and each one of those people changed the lives of another 10 people, and another 10, then in 5 generations, 125 years, the class of 2014 will have changed the lives of 800 million people. 800 million people. Think about it. Over twice the population of the United States. Go one more generation, and you can change the entire population of the world, 8 billion people. If you think it's hard to change the lives of 10 people, change their lives forever, you're wrong. I saw it happen every day in Iraq and Afghanistan. A young Army officer makes a decision to go left instead of right down a road in Baghdad, and the 10 soldiers with him are saved from a close-in ambush. In Kandahar province, Afghanistan, a non-commissioned officer from the female engagement team senses that something isn't right and directs the infantry platoon away from a 500-pound IED, saving the lives of a dozen soldiers. But if you think about it, not only were those soldiers saved by the decisions of one person, but their children were saved, and their children's children. Generations were saved by one decision, one person. But changing the world can happen anywhere and anyone can do it. So what starts here can indeed change the world. But the question is, what will the world look like after you change it? Well, I'm confident that it will look much, much better. But if you'll humor this old sailor for just a moment, I have a few suggestions that may help you on your way to a better world. And while these lessons were learned during my time in the military, I can assure you that it matters not whether you ever served a day in uniform. It matters not your gender, your ethnic or religious background, your orientation, or your social status. Our struggles in this world are similar, and the lessons to overcome those struggles and to move forward, changing ourselves and changing the world around us will apply equally to all. I've been a Navy SEAL for 36 years, but it all began when I left UT for basic SEAL training in Coronado, California. Basic SEAL training is 6 months of long, torturous runs in the soft sand, midnight swims in the cold water off San Diego, obstacle courses, unending calisthenics, days without sleep, and always being cold, wet, and miserable. It is 6 months of being constantly harassed by professionally trained warriors who seek to find the weak of mind and body and eliminate them from ever becoming a Navy SEAL. But the training also seeks to find those students who can lead in an environment of constant stress, chaos, failure, and hardships. To me, basic SEAL training was a lifetime of challenges crammed into 6 months. So here are the 10 lessons I learned from basic SEAL training that hopefully will be of value to you as you move forward in life. Every morning in SEAL training, my instructors, who at the time were all Vietnam veterans, would show up in my barracks room, and the first thing they'd do was inspect my bed. If you did it right, the corners would be square, the covers would be pulled tight, the pillow centered just under the headboard, and the extra blanket folded neatly at the foot of the rack. It was a simple task, mundane at best, but every morning we were required to make our bed to perfection. That seemed a little ridiculous at the time, particularly in light of the fact that we were aspiring to be real warriors, tough, battle-hardened SEALs. But the wisdom of this simple act has been proven to me many times over. If you make your bed every morning, you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride, and it will encourage you to do another task, and another, and another. And by the end of the day, that one task completed will have turned into many tasks completed. Making your bed will also reinforce the fact that the little things in life matter. If you can't do the little things right, you'll never be able to do the big things right. And if by chance you have a miserable day, you will come home to a bed that is made, that you made. And a made bed gives you encouragement that tomorrow will be better. So if you want to change the world, start off by making your bed. During training, the students are all broken down into boat crews. Each crew is 7 students, 3 on each side of a small rubber boat, and 1 coxswain to help guide the dinghy. Every day, your boat crew forms up on the beach and is instructed to get through the surf zone and paddle several miles down the coast. In the winter, the surf off San Diego can get to be 8 to 10 feet high, and it is exceedingly difficult to paddle through the plunging surf unless everyone digs in. Every paddle must be synchronized to the stroke count of the coxswain. Everyone must exert equal effort, or the boat will turn against the wave and be unceremoniously dumped back on the beach. For the boat to make it to its destination, everyone must paddle. You can't change the world alone. You will need some help. And to truly get from your starting point to your destination takes friends, colleagues, the goodwill of strangers, and a strong coxswain to guide you. If you want to change the world, find someone to help you paddle. Over a few weeks of difficult training, my SEAL class, which started with 150 men, was down to just 42. There were now 6 boat crews of 7 men each. I was in the boat with the tall guys, but the best boat crew we had was made up of the little guys, the Munchkin crew, we call them. No one was over 5'5". The Munchkin boat crew had 1 American Indian, 1 African American, 1 Polish American, 1 Greek American, 1 Italian American, and 2 tough kids from the Midwest. They out-paddled, outran, and outswam all the other boat crews. The big men in the other boat crews would always make good-natured fun of the tiny little flippers the Munchkins put on their tiny little feet prior to every swim. But somehow these little guys from every corner of the nation and the world always had the last lap, swimming faster than everyone and reaching the shore long before the rest of us. SEAL training was a great equalizer. Nothing mattered but your will to succeed, not your color, not your ethnic background, not your education, not your social status. If you want to change the world, measure a person by the size of their heart, not by the size of their flippers. Several times a week, the instructors would line up the class and do a uniform inspection. It was exceptionally thorough. Your hat had to be perfectly starched, your uniform immaculately pressed, your belt buckle shiny and void of any smudges. But it seemed that no matter how much effort you put into starching your hat or pressing your uniform or polishing your belt buckle, it just wasn't good enough. The instructors would find something wrong. For failing uniform inspection, the student had to run fully clothed into the surf zone, then wet from head to toe, roll around on the beach until every part of your body was covered with sand. The effect was known as sugar cookie. You stayed in the uniform the rest of the day, cold, wet, and sandy. There were many a student who just couldn't accept the fact that all their efforts were in vain, that no matter how hard they tried to get the uniform right, it went unappreciated. Those students didn't make it through training. Those students didn't understand the purpose of the drill. You were never going to succeed. You were never going to have a perfect uniform. The instructors weren't going to allow it. Sometimes, no matter how well you prepare or how well you perform, you still end up as a sugar cookie. It's just the way life is sometimes. If you want to change the world, get over being a sugar cookie and keep moving forward. Every day during training, you were challenged with multiple physical events, long runs, long swims, obstacle courses, hours of calisthenics, something designed to test your mettle. Every event had standards, times you had to meet. If you failed to meet those times, those standards, your name was posted on a list. And at the end of the day, those on the list were invited to a circus. A circus was 2 hours of additional calisthenics designed to wear you down, to break your spirit, to force you to quit. No one wanted a circus. A circus meant that for that day, you didn't measure up. A circus meant more fatigue, and more fatigue meant that the following day would be more difficult and more circuses were likely. But at some time during SEAL training, everyone made the circus list. But an interesting thing happened to those who were constantly on the list. Over time, those students who did 2 hours of extra calisthenics got stronger and stronger. The pain of the circuses built inner strength and physical resiliency. Life is filled with circuses. You will fail. You will likely fail often. It will be painful. It will be discouraging. At times, it will test you to your very core. But if you want to change the world, don't be afraid of the circus. At least twice a week, the trainees were required to run the obstacle course. The obstacle course contained 25 obstacles, including a 10-foot wall, a 30-foot cargo net, a barbed wire crawl, to name a few. But the most challenging obstacle was the slide for life. It had a 3-level, 30-foot tower at one end and a 1-level tower at the other. In between was a 200-foot long rope. You had to climb the 3-tiered tower, and once at the top, you grabbed the rope, swung underneath the rope, and pulled yourself hand over hand until you got to the other end. The record for the obstacle course had stood for years when my class began in 1977. The record seemed unbeatable until one day a student decided to go down the slide for life head first. Instead of swinging his body underneath the rope and inching his way down, he bravely mounted the top of the rope and thrust himself forward. It was a dangerous move, seemingly foolish and fraught with risk. Failure could mean injury and being dropped from the course. Without hesitation, the student slid down the rope perilously fast. Instead of several minutes, it only took him half that time. And by the end of the course, he had broken the record. If you want to change the world, sometimes you have to slide down the obstacles head first. During the land warfare phase of training, The students are flown out to San Clemente Island, which lies off the coast of San Diego. The waters off San Clemente are a breeding ground for the great white sharks. To pass SEAL training, there are a series of long swims that must be completed. One is the night swim. Before the swim, the instructors joyfully brief the students on all the species of sharks that inhabit the waters off San Clemente. They assure you, however, that no student has ever been eaten by a shark, at least not that they can remember. But you are also taught that if a shark begins to circle your position, stand your ground. Do not swim away. Do not act afraid. And if the shark from under the night starts, then summons up all your strength and punch him in the snout, and he will turn and swim away. There are a lot of sharks in the world. If you hope to complete the swim, you will have to deal with them. So if you want to change the world, don't back down from the sharks. As Navy SEALs, one of our jobs is to conduct underwater attacks against enemy shipping. We practice this technique extensively during training. The ship attack mission is where a pair of SEAL divers is dropped off outside an enemy harbor and then swims well over 2 miles underwater, using nothing but a depth gauge and a compass to get to the target. During the entire swim, even well below the surface, there is some light that comes through. It is comforting to know that there is open water above you. But as you approach the ship, which is tied to a pier, the light begins to fade. The steel structure of the ship blocks the moonlight. It blocks the surrounding street lamps. It blocks all ambient light. To be successful in your mission, you have to swim under the ship and find the keel, the center line, and the deepest part of the ship. This is your objective. But the keel is also the darkest part of the ship, where you cannot see your hand in front of your face, where the noise from the ship's machinery is deafening, and where it gets to be easily disoriented, and you can fail. Every SEAL knows that under the keel, at that darkest mission, is a time when you need to be calm. You must be calm, when you must be composed, when all your technical skills, your physical power, and your inner strength must be brought to bear. If you want to change the world, you must be your very best in the darkest moments. The 9th week of training is referred to as Hell Week. It is 6 days of no sleep, constant physical and mental harassment, and one special day, mud flats. The mud flats are an area between San Diego and Tijuana where the water runs off and creates the Tijuana Sloughs, a swampy patch of terrain where the mud will engulf you. It is on Wednesday of Hell Week that you paddle down to the mud flats and spend the next 15 hours trying to survive the freezing cold, the howling wind, and the incessant pressure to quit from the instructors. As the sun began to set that Wednesday evening, my training class, having committed some egregious infraction of the rules, was ordered into the mud. The mud consumed each man till there was nothing visible but our heads. The instructors told us we could leave the mud if only 5 men would quit. Only 5 men, just 5 men, and we could get out of the oppressive cold. Looking around the mud flat, it was apparent that some students were about to give up. It was still over 8 hours till the sun came up, 8 more hours of bone-chilling cold. The chattering teeth and the shivering moans of the trainees were so loud, it was hard to hear anything. And then one voice began to echo through the night. One voice raised in song. The song was terribly out of tune, but sung with great enthusiasm. One voice became 2, and 2 became 3, and before long, everyone in the class was singing. The instructors threatened us with more time in the mud if we kept up the singing, but the singing persisted. And somehow the mud seemed a little warmer, and the wind a little tamer, and the dawn not so far away. If I have learned anything in my time traveling the world, it is the power of hope. The power of one person, a Washington, a Lincoln, King, Mandela, and even a young girl from Pakistan, Malala. One person can change the world by giving people hope. So if you want to change the world, start singing when you're up to your neck in mud. Finally, in SEAL training, there's a bell. a brass bell that hangs in the center of the compound for all the students to see. All you have to do to quit, is ring the bell. Ring the bell, and you no longer have to wake up at 5 o'clock. Ring the bell, and you no longer have to be in the freezing cold swims. Ring the bell, and you no longer have to do the runs, the obstacle course, the PT, and you no longer have to endure the hardships of training. All you have to do is ring the bell to get out. If you want to change the world, don't ever, ever ring the bell. To the class of 2014, you are moments away from graduating, moments away from beginning your journey through life, moments away from starting to change the world for the better. It will not be easy, but you are the class of 2014, the class that can affect the lives of 800 million people in the next century. Start each day with a task completed. Find someone to help you through life. Respect everyone. Know that life is not fair and that you will fail often. But if you take some risks, step up when the times are the toughest, face down the bullies, lift up the downtrodden, and never, ever give up. If you do these things, the next generation and the generations that follow will live in a world far better than the one we have today. And what started here will indeed have changed the world for the better. Thank you very much. Hook 'em horns.
Team SEAL training pass rate was somewhere around 6-7%. So, you remember that your entire life. Tonight, is there any further business to come to before the assembly? If there be none, we shall proceed to the close of the meeting. Officers? Naval pilot, what is the emblems of this degree?
The flag, the sword, and the cross.
Yes, Sir Knights, these glorious symbols typify patriotism, liberty, the heaven-sent attributes of our Christian citizenship. Faithful pilot, what do you say for the flag?
The flag of our country, we love it and shall ever defend it.
Faithful Admiral, what do you say for the sword?
Let us keep it bright for liberty's sake.
Faithful Captain, what do you say for the cross? Cross the flag. Let freedom and fiction all be used. Conqueror of death, of life. The true reverence to the holy symbol of guardian and personal word. Tonight, undying allegiance to the cross of Christ and Christ victor on the earth. Please stand or kneel. Father, Son, our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy will be done. Give us this day our daily bread. Give us our trespasses, and we forgive our trespasses. Hail Mary, full of grace, glory be to the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, I declare this assembly fully closed until our next morning meeting, which is 6th March. Thank you for being with us.